So overall, the Prince of Egypt is much more dramatic than the Ten Commandments. The Ten Commandments in 1956 was kind of slower and more ponderous in a pacing sense, and its depiction of Seti was much more of a kindly old man, indifferent to the system he rules, rather than anybody with true agency or determination. But here, Seti is very clearly motivated. Here, he is an authoritarian monarch, anxious to preserve stability and the continuity of his dynasty, and everything he does, either in the present of the film or in the past leading up to it, is done with that in mind. So he's a little bit more villainous, I guess, in a story sense, certainly more of an antagonist for young Moses and the Hebrews, whereas by comparison, the Ten Commandments version is more disinterested. There are other people doing the bad things on his behalf. But this Seti is much more hostile to the Hebrews, which arguably follows the biblical tradition a bit more closely than the Ten Commandments, but certainly doesn't give the best depiction of the Egyptians that you possibly could. Still, I think the depiction of Seti as a ruler concerned about lineage, stability, and tradition is not entirely hostile. It actually does give some understandable motivation to why the king behaves the way he does, and more importantly, it sets the themes that Rameses is going to follow as the actual pharaoh of the Exodus in the story. So the depiction of Seti here is really strong from a creative and a dramatic standpoint. Again, a lot of it has to be viewed in context of this is an adaptation of the Hebrew story of Exodus. It's not necessarily in line with the historical inscriptions from Egypt itself. But Seti I was a warrior and a builder, and a man who exercised monarchical power on a grand scale throughout the country. It's probably not too far away from reality to suggest that he might have been a stern, kind of controlling figure. Obviously, we should take that with salt. There's creative liberties and a need for storytelling, which overrides every other consideration. But the depiction of Seti here in The Prince of Egypt is actually pretty solid. I would say, character-wise, about a 7 out of 10.